channel. My name is Adam W. Rodriguez, and I am your host here at the Art of AWR. Today, I'm going to be doing a book review of The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. This is the very first Stephen Graham Jones book I've ever read, and I am super excited to talk about it. But before I begin, I would like to invite you to subscribe to my channel. If you like videos about books and writing and painting and art and all of that kind of fun stuff, subscribe to my channel. Maybe hit that bell so that you get new notifications every time a new episode drops. Like this video, and hey, drop a comment in the comment section. I'd love to have a conversation with you. That'd be great. Now I am done with my self-plug. Let us move on to The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. I would first like to talk about Stephen Graham Jones, the author. He is a professor of English at the University of Colorado in Boulder. He is also a Native American from the Blackfeet tribe. And it's really, really cool being able to read a book by a Native American discussing Native American culture, and even more exciting, creating a monster from Native American folklore and incorporating it into a more modern tale. I've been watching a lot of random interviews with Stephen Graham Jones, and one of the questions that he answered was, what is different about The Only Good Indians compared to your other books? And his first and quickest answer was, it's written in 3 parts. And it is. It's written in 3 different parts. He wasn't lying. And it also kind of informed me to the fact that he doesn't necessarily stick to a particular format. Most people associate him as a horror author because, you know, he writes a lot of horror books, and some of his more recent works are horror books. But he also writes crime fiction and science fiction and experimental fiction, which is a type of fiction that doesn't really follow any particular format, or sometimes it will it'll like focus on different aspects of writing. And I think that his experimental fiction definitely plays a part in The Only Good Indians here. I watched a booktuber do a review on The Only Good Indians, and one of the best things that she said, and I'm just kind of half quoting here, is that if you go into The Only Good Indians expecting to read a horror book, you might not quite get what you want. And I think that that's a pretty solid assessment. There's definitely moments where I'm like, am I reading a horror book? You know, and then it's, you know, very evident that it's a horror book when the horror parts come to pass. Let's talk about the book itself. Now, like I said, it's written in 3 parts. The first part I thought was very, very quick-paced and really fun, and it got to the gory parts really fast, and it was exciting. You know, it was very cinematic. I could see the things just kind of happening in my head as they happened. So I thought it was quite awesome. The second part is a little bit slower paced, and it definitely did a lot of like commentary on what it's like to be a Native American living off of the reservation. And then part 3 was a lot faster paced and kind of went into more of a love letter to people who love horror movies. So the book is about 4 people who are 4 Native American Blackfeet tribal people who commit a certain deed that I'm not going to completely outline here. I don't want to spoil it. And even Stephen Graham Jones takes his time telling you what deed they committed. But the deed itself is heinous enough to bring about this spirit of retribution. The cover of the book sort of gives it away that there's a deer or elk quality to our spirit of retribution. And the deer woman actually comes into view very, very early on in the book, so I don't feel like I'm spoiling anything. The deer woman is this really awesome bit of Native American folklore. It's a spirit that's often associated with like fertility, but it is also associated with like protecting children and women, and often a spirit of retribution, which is how it's used in this particular book. The first part, like I said, it goes really, really quick, and the second part is a character by the name of Lewis A. Clark. which I think is hilarious. I mean, Stephen Graham Jones is a professor, so I know he must have done that on purpose. And the middle part is, like I said, I think it's the part where you kind of forget that you're in a horror novel for a little bit. There is definitely sort of a haunting quality about it as the character Lewis is trying to navigate his way through what he thinks he sees, what he thinks he knows, and some of the horrible things that happen around him. But there's definitely a lot of really, really cool social commentary going on in that section as well. He's a Native American man who moved off the reservation, married a white woman, and he goes into great detail as to what that means to him. And I think that's really, really cool. I don't read enough Native American authors, so it's really, really great when I get to see some perspectives into being a Native American by Native American authors. So it's wonderful. And like I said, there are parts where it starts to drag. But I will say this. Stephen Graham Jones is funny. He's not afraid to be funny in his narrative, and his characters tend to be kind of funny. There's this wonderful kind of, you know, it's almost, oh, what's the word? It's kind of cynical, really. But it's kind of dry and... it's delicious. I love it. It's really, really good writing. I mean, he's a solid writer, you know, all the way across the board. Like, there's a reason why I really like this book, and then there's a reason why after I read it, I went out and picked up a copy of Mongrels by Stephen Graham Jones, and I'm planning on reading this. This is going to be part of my werewolf TBR that I'm going to be reading throughout the year, and I'm looking forward to reading this and doing a review on it as well. So when I say that the writing style had moments that kind of dragged, it might be because of the contrast of the moments where the pacing is really, really fast. You know what I mean? So maybe that's where it was. And that's what I mean when I said that I think some of his experimental fiction styles are kind of bleeding into this particular book. The third part of the book is the final two friends who still are living on the reservation, and they're sort of dealing with how, like, trying to maintain some of their tribal traditions in this modern environment, in this modern world. And then they even branch into one of the characters' daughters, who's this basketball player. Oh my gosh, Stephen Graham Jones loves basketball. I was watching one of the interviews, and he said that he actually edited out some of the basketball stuff in the book. And I'm like, wow, because it had a lot of basketball stuff as it was, you know. And I'm not saying I don't like basketball. Basketball's great. But, like, there were definitely parts where I was like, are we still talking about basketball? Anyway, there's some moments in the back end that are perfectly chilling. And then there are a couple of moments that kind of take me out of the book. So I'm just kind of like, oh, one of those moments involved basketball. But like I said, there's an engaging quality to these characters, and there's a monochrome of humor all throughout that really, really just keeps me engaged. So he's an excellent writer, and the story was very well told. And for the most part, especially on the back end, it gets so cinematic. It was basically, as I read, I was watching a movie in my mind. It's really, really well done. Stephen Graham Jones is excellent. I'm going to be giving this particular book an 8 out of 10 as far as my rating system is concerned. And that's mostly because at times I was kind of taken out of the book as I read it. And those moments were saved by humor and character work and really cool social commentary, and just how he weaved the concept of old folklore into a modern tale. I mean, all of that stuff supersedes any of the drudgery that I had to deal with, or the moments that I had to, like, kind of get pulled out of the book itself. So, like I said, it's an excellent read. Stephen Graham Jones, The Only Good Indians. And I think that's about it as far as my review is concerned here. So I really hope you enjoyed watching my book review on The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. I know that I enjoyed sharing my thoughts with you. So we will see you next time here at The Art of R. Ciao.